Hello everybody, how are you? This is my third video with class 8th A and B, and I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you guys are maintaining your assignments. Remember that you have to finish your first assignment, your first poetry by 31st of March, as we spoke and as it has been uploaded on Google Classroom. Um, so the new poem that we are doing today is called Escape by Richa Gupta. This is on page number 34 of your book, and quite an unusual poem, I should say, written, and it's the latest version of modern poetry, written by someone who is very young, has a different mindset. Children, particularly, especially written by a teenager, I should say, when this poem was written. Couple of questions that we'll go through before we start the poem. If you go to the first page, it says, "How do you feel about deforestation?" First word that we will, if you have access to a dictionary, please go through the word deforestation. Deforestation usually means cutting down of trees, particularly so that that piece of land or that part of the forest can be uh, converted into a land. Maybe it can be, if it's cut down so that people can make a ranch on it. That means they can build a farmhouse on it. But whatever the reason is, the most important thing is that it means cutting down of trees which were growing there for many years, and these trees are part of the forest, and forest does not belong to you and I as human beings. Forest belongs to the wild animals. So basically, cutting down of trees and uh, vanishing of the trees, of the wild, and including the wildlife also. So the poem written by Richa Gupta called Escape has a couple of questions. How do you feel about deforestation? What is your first um, thought about deforestation? Do you think you support people who cut down trees and forests and grasslands? What do you think about it? What do you think will happen to the animals that live in forests? Let's say, for example, we are cutting down um, trees because we want to build up a mall, we want to build up apartments, we want to build up our home, we want to make a house there. But imagine uh, that forest is just not a couple of that does not define a couple of trees. Forest is something that is home to animals, starting from lions and tigers and elephants, to small creatures, to birds, to animals living on the trees. So you are basically throwing all those animals out of their homes. How would you feel if you're thrown out of your own house, of your home? How do you feel if you're homeless? So deforestation is when you're making the wild animals homeless, in simple terms. And and at the same time you're destroying their habitat. Habitat is a place where they live, they grow, they rear, they breed, and they live upon things that grow in the forest. So you're destroying everything. How would you feel? What do you think will happen to these animals? Maybe they'll migrate somewhere else. Maybe they'll die of starvation. There's so many reasons. Maybe the herd is disconnected. What are the other things that threaten their existence? Apart from deforestation, apart from cutting down of trees, what is the most important threat that animals are facing in the forest? Would I be wrong if I say poaching, illegal trade and killing of animals? Animals are killed for their skin, animals are killed for their bones, animals are killed for their for everything that you can imagine in an animal. So poaching, natural disasters. Look at the example of Australian bushfires. It has uh, burnt up a very big amount of, a large amount of forest land in Australia. All these factors result in making these animals homeless. So I hope you have an idea about what this poem is about. Why I have given you the introduction about deforestation is because this poem is based upon deforestation. This poem is was written by someone who was not happy with what is going on. If you see in cities, and in fact even in our Leh, a couple of years back, um, there was a project called Beautification of Ladakh. So in that project, the authorities, they wanted to facelift the entire Leh market. Um, Couple of trees were cut, trees which stood there as witnesses, trees that were more than 100 years old. So that is deforestation. So I'm just giving you an example. I'm not trying to say something against what was going on about about the beautification project, but I'm just giving you an example about what deforestation is. So Escape by Richa Gupta. This is the name of the poet. I'm just giving you a brief introduction about who the poetess is. So, Escape has been written by a young, dynamic poetess called Richa Gupta. She was 17 years old when she wrote this poem. Today, she she's 20-year old, little bit more than 20 years, and she lives in Bangalore. She is a student like you guys, and she is the editor and founder of a magazine called Moledro. When she wrote this poem, she was 16 years old. I'm sorry, not 17. So she would be, this is how it started. So I'm just going to take the first stanza and then we'll go slowly because it's a new poem. So I want you to digest and understand what I'm trying to explain. Please take a pencil, take your book on page number 34 and keep on writing notes while I'm explaining. Pause the video and then write the notes whenever I'm explaining.